In the Grand Urquiza mansion, a new chapter begins with Clara Garcia, a determined housekeeper whose arrival at the estate signifies both hope and challenge. With a suitcase full of dreams, Clara steps into a world defined by luxury and high expectations, determined to prove her worth to the imposing Alejandro Urquiza. Her earnest dedication and the warmth of her budding friendship with Mariana Urquiza offer a glimmer of light amidst the mansion's grandeur. As Clara navigates the complexities of her role, she witnesses the underlying tensions between Alejandro and Mariana, revealing a side of the Urquiza family that contrasts sharply with their polished exterior. The strained interactions and emotional confrontations between the couple unveil a poignant reality where even the wealthiest cannot escape personal strife. Clara's journey, marked by moments of triumph and disappointment, underscores a deeper truth. The pursuit of perfection and the weight of responsibility often come at a great cost. Her evolving role within the mansion becomes a reflection of her inner strength and resilience, highlighting the personal sacrifices and emotional trials she faces along the way. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell to avoid missing any videos. In a moment that would reverberate through the corridors of power and influence, a recently divorced billionaire made a decision that would astonish everyone present. He brought his housekeeper to a crucial meeting, an act that left the assembled elite in stunned silence. Clara Garcia, a woman of remarkable resilience, stood before the grand entrance of the Urquiza mansion. Her brown hair, illuminated by the early morning sun, seemed to catch the light in a way that made her appear almost ethereal. Her face was etched with a fierce determination, a silent testament to the personal and professional struggles she had overcome. As she approached the opulent door, her hand hesitated momentarily over the doorbell, a simple yet profound gesture that signified the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter fraught with both hope and uncertainty. Beside her lay a well-worn suitcase, its battered exterior a stark contrast to the dreams and ambitions packed within, each crease and scuff a silent witness to her journey. The grand door eventually swung open with a creak that seemed to echo through the grandiose hallway, revealing Alejandro Urquiza. The billionaire's imposing stature and penetrating gaze were enough to daunt even the most seasoned of professionals. Yet Clara, standing at the threshold, met his intimidating presence with a quiet but unyielding resolve. Her eyes, filled with a mix of apprehension and determination, locked onto his as if silently challenging him to see beyond the surface. In a voice that betrayed none of the tremors she felt inside, she declared with a firm and unwavering tone, "Good morning, sir. My name is Clara Garcia. I am here to apply for the position of housekeeper. Enclosed, you will find my resume and several letters of recommendation." Her hand, though it trembled slightly from the weight of the moment, extended the documents with a grace that masked her nervousness. Despite the palpable tension hanging in the air, her voice resonated with a clear, unwavering confidence that spoke volumes about her resolve. Alejandro took the papers without a flicker of warmth or welcome, his eyes meticulously scanning each line and word with a critical intensity that seemed to search for hidden flaws or concealed truths. The silence that followed was thick with anticipation, stretching into what felt like an interminable pause that magnified every heartbeat and breath. Finally, Alejandro's deep, measured voice broke the silence, each word deliberate and laden with authority. "Clara Garcia," he intoned, his voice carrying the weight of his expectations. "This house is far more than a mere residence to me. It stands as a profound symbol of my achievements and, by extension, the epitome of my professional success. I hold every aspect of my life, including the meticulous maintenance of this estate, to the highest standard of perfection. I have no tolerance for failure, delays, or excuses. Should you be selected for this position, I require your absolute assurance that you will uphold these standards without compromise. Are you truly prepared to commit to such an exacting level of expectation?" The gravity of Alejandro's words settled heavily on Clara's shoulders, the weight of the responsibility almost palpable. Her initial expression, marked by a hint of insecurity, was swiftly transformed by a surge of inner strength and resolve. The dire need and fervent desire to change her circumstances fueled her determination, allowing her to respond with an earnest professionalism that shone through her demeanor. Meeting Alejandro's scrutinizing gaze with unwavering steadiness, she replied with a depth of conviction that resonated with her true commitment. "Mr. Urquiza, I fully comprehend the magnitude of this role and what it signifies for you personally and professionally. I take immense pride in my work ethic and my unwavering dedication to my responsibilities. If you extend to me this opportunity, I not only promise to meet your expectations but to exceed them in every way possible. I am here not merely to fill a position but to contribute profoundly, ensuring that every facet of this home reflects the excellence and impeccable standards you so rightly demand." As Alejandro took in Clara's earnest words, a profound silence enveloped the room, thick with anticipation and unspoken judgment. He scrutinized her with a penetrating gaze that seemed to sift through every nuance of her sincerity and resolve. After what felt like an eternity of weighing her commitment against his exacting standards, Alejandro gave a nearly imperceptible nod, a subtle yet significant acknowledgement of her acceptance into his exclusive realm. "Very well, Clara," he said, his voice a blend of formality and reserved approval. "You will start tomorrow. We shall see if you possess the true capability to fulfill the promises you've made." The first light of dawn at the Urquiza mansion heralded not just a new day, but a new chapter for Clara. Awakened early, her mind brimming with a mix of trepidation and determination, she prepared herself to face the challenges of her inaugural day. The gentle sunlight, filtering through the curtains of her modest quarters, bathed the room in a soft, golden hue, infusing it with a sense of hope and renewal. Clara's thoughts swirled around the significance of each task she was about to undertake, each detail a reflection of her profound gratitude for this chance. The immense expectations loomed over her like a shadow, and she knew that every step she took would be scrutinized as a testament to her capability and dedication within the opulent world of the Urquiza family. As Clara made her way to the kitchen, she encountered Mariana Urquiza, the lady of the house. Mariana's warm, welcoming demeanor was like a balm to Clara's nervous spirit. "Good morning, Clara," Mariana greeted with a genuine smile that radiated kindness. "I trust you slept well? The first day can indeed be a bit overwhelming, but please remember, I'm here to support you. How about we start the day with breakfast together? It will give us a chance to chat, and I can help you get acclimated." Clara, her heart swelling with gratitude at Mariana's generous offer, accepted with a smile that conveyed her relief and eagerness. "That sounds wonderful, Mrs. Urquiza. Thank you so much for your kindness. I am a bit apprehensive but truly motivated to give my best." During their breakfast, Mariana generously shared invaluable insights about the household, Alejandro's specific preferences, and subtle nuances crucial for maintaining harmony. "Alejandro has his unique preferences, Clara," Mariana advised. "For instance, he likes the library to be tidied up first thing in the morning to avoid disruptions later in the day, and he takes great pride in having the garden meticulously maintained. These may seem like minor details, but they truly make a significant difference." Clara listened intently, her resolve strengthening with each piece of advice. "Thank you very much for this guidance, Mrs. Urquiza. I am committed to meeting Mr. Urquiza's high expectations and ensuring the house reflects the excellence he values. Your support is deeply appreciated." As the day unfolded, Clara embraced Mariana's guidance with diligence and care. She meticulously cleaned the various rooms and prepared lunch with an attention to detail that she hoped would meet the high standards set before her. Mariana's intermittent visits, marked by words of encouragement and praise, provided a much-needed boost to Clara's confidence. When Alejandro returned home that evening, Mariana made a point of highlighting Clara's efforts. "Clara has truly put forth a remarkable effort today," she said, pride evident in her tone. "She followed all our advice closely, and I am confident that you will notice the positive difference." Alejandro, observing the meticulously maintained environment and the attention to detail Clara had demonstrated, turned to her with a look of measured approval. "I see that Mariana has guided you well," he said, his voice carrying a tone of satisfaction. "I am pleased with what I observe. Continue in this manner, and I believe you will seamlessly integrate into our home." Clara, her heart lifting with relief and encouragement at Alejandro's affirmation, responded with a heartfelt sense of appreciation. "Thank you, Mr. Urquiza. I am grateful for the trust you have shown and for Mrs. Urquiza's invaluable guidance. It is a privilege for me to contribute to the well-being of this household, and I am committed to striving for excellence every day." Several weeks had elapsed since Clara's arrival at the opulent Urquiza mansion. What once seemed like an overwhelming challenge had gradually become a comforting routine. Clara had not only acclimated to her duties, but had also forged a deepening bond with Mariana Urquiza. The mansion, with its grandeur and intricate details, was starting to feel less like a daunting domain and more like a second home. On a particularly radiant afternoon, after diligently completing her morning tasks, Clara ventured into the garden, where she discovered Mariana delicately tending to her cherished roses. Mariana, with her warm, inviting smile, looked up and beckoned Clara over. "Come join me, dear Clara," she said, her voice imbued with genuine affection. "I've observed that you have a remarkable touch with plants. Why don't you help me with these roses? I've always believed that a garden is a reflection of the soul of a home, and I'd love to share that sentiment with you." Clara, touched by Mariana's heartfelt invitation, eagerly accepted. As they worked side by side among the blooming roses, their hands gently caressing the soft petals and green stems, Mariana began to open up about her connection to the house. "You know, Clara," Mariana began thoughtfully, her hands skillfully pruning the roses. "To many, this house might appear to be just a collection of walls and lavish furnishings, but for me it represents so much more. It is a repository of cherished memories, boundless joys, and, of course, some sorrows. Alejandro and I always envisioned creating a sanctuary that transcended mere aesthetics. We wanted to build a true home, a place where every person who steps through these doors feels a sense of warmth and belonging. Witnessing your dedication and the care you put into maintaining our home reassures me that you understand and share that vision." Moved by Mariana's openness and the sincerity of her words, Clara responded with heartfelt emotion. "Mrs. Urquiza, from the very first day I arrived, your kindness and warmth exceeded anything I could have anticipated. This house and everything it stands for has come to hold great significance for me. I see the love and meticulous attention in every detail, and it is an honor for me to be a part of that. Your home is a beautiful reflection of your family. Welcoming, elegant, and resilient. I promise to uphold that spirit with the utmost respect and care." Mariana, visibly touched by Clara's heartfelt response, felt a wave of emotion. "Clara, you have already become an integral part of our home and our family. Your dedication and the genuine affection you bring to your work have not gone unnoticed. Alejandro and I are profoundly grateful to have you with us. We truly hope you will remain a cherished member of our household for many years to come." As the sun began its descent, casting a golden hue over the Urquiza estate, Clara and Mariana continued their quiet work in the garden, their thoughts weaving a tapestry of introspection and connection. For Clara, this tranquil moment represented more than just tending to the roses. It symbolized the dawning of a new chapter in her life, a period brimming with personal growth and self-discovery. Each tender touch of the petals, each careful adjustment of the leaves, felt like a step toward a deeper understanding of her place within this grand household. For Mariana, the shared task was a reaffirmation that her home was in capable hands, entrusted to someone who resonated with her values and aspirations. As dusk settled over the mansion, Clara moved indoors to prepare the dining table for the evening meal. Yet, as she set the table, a disconcerting scene unfolded before her eyes. Alejandro and Mariana were engaged in a hushed but intense conversation in the living room. The air was thick with unspoken tension, and even though Clara was a distance away, the strain in their voices was palpable. Her attempts to concentrate on her task were futile as Alejandro's voice unexpectedly rose, shattering the fragile calm of the evening. "Mariana, I've expressed before that this is not how we should approach things." Alejandro's voice cut through the air with a sharp edge. "You persist on your methods without regard for the broader impact. This behavior must end." Mariana, her voice maintaining a veneer of calm that masked the hurt she felt, responded with a measured tone. Alejandro, my intention was simply to assist. I believed that if we collaborated on this, we could find a resolution that would benefit everyone. Why must you always view this as a contest? Clara's heart ached as she overheard this exchange. The warmth and compassion that had always characterized Mariana's interactions now seemed entangled with an undertone of conflict, leaving Clara deeply unsettled. Alejandro, realizing his voice had escalated, took a moment to steady himself and regard Mariana with a more reflective gaze. Mariana, everything I do is driven by a desire to ensure the well-being of this family and the integrity of our home. But sometimes, it's crucial for you to place your trust in my decisions. We cannot afford to be complacent. Mariana exhaled a weary sigh, a gesture that spoke of countless similar discussions and unspoken disappointments. I trust you, Alejandro, as I always have, but I also need you to trust in my dedication to this family. I'm not in competition with you. I am on your side. Clara, her own heart heavy with the weight of what she had overheard, discreetly finished setting the table and withdrew from the scene, leaving the couple to navigate their private discord. The brief but revealing exchange had exposed a layer of complexity in the Urquiza family dynamics that Clara was only beginning to comprehend. The undercurrent of tension between Alejandro and Mariana hinted at deeper struggles, a stark contrast to the polished exterior of their lives. As Clara lay in bed that night, the events of the evening replayed in her mind. The stark realization settled heavily upon her. Wealth might mask many things, but it cannot conceal the fundamental human experiences of conflict and discontent. Whether she lived modestly, scraping by with what little she had, or they lived in opulence with their own relational strife, the essence of human struggles remained the same. She pondered the disparity between her own modest struggles and the visible but painful issues in the lives of those around her. Mariana, whose kindness had always been a beacon in Clara's days, did not deserve the harsh words she had endured. As Clara drifted into sleep, her thoughts lingered on the realization that beneath the surface, everyone carried their own burdens, regardless of their circumstances. As the first light of dawn painted the Urquiza mansion in gentle hues, Clara began her morning routine with the practiced ease that had become second nature to her. The house, cloaked in tranquil silence, slowly stirred to life as the sun's early rays streamed through the expansive windows, casting a soft glow over the grand hallways. In the kitchen, Clara moved with purpose, preparing breakfast with the same meticulous attention to detail she applied to every task. Just as Clara was putting the finishing touches on the morning meal, Alejandro burst into the kitchen. His presence was abrupt and jarring, his demeanor reflecting the unrelenting storm of worries that seemed to cloud his every waking moment. His face, etched with the lines of stress, betrayed the weight of responsibilities that never seemed to ease. Clara, breakfast needs to be ready now. I'm starving, and I have an appointment that I cannot afford to be late for. Alejandro's voice cut through the quiet with a harsh edge, each word carrying the gravity of his high-stakes life. Taken aback by Alejandro's early arrival and the sharpness of his tone, Clara maintained her composure. It's almost ready, sir. I'm just putting the final touches on everything. It will be on the table in a few minutes. Alejandro, arms crossed and eyes scanning the kitchen with a critical gaze, scrutinized every detail with an expression of discontent. What's taking so long? With the amount of time you've had, I trust everything is being done precisely as instructed. I don't want a repeat of the issues we had with the previous employee. Clara felt a pang of unfairness pierce her resolve. The past week had been fraught with a series of minor setbacks that, despite her best efforts, she couldn't entirely avoid. Sir, I assure you that I have followed every instruction to the letter. I strive each day to meet your expectations, and I am committed to continuous improvement. Alejandro exhaled deeply, his frustration evident as he ran a hand through his disheveled hair, a rare display of his underlying stress. Clara, I'm not questioning your dedication, but you need to understand that this household adheres to stringent standards. It's not merely about preparing breakfast. It's about upholding order, efficiency, and representing the Urquiza name with the utmost respect. How can I place my trust in someone who can't even ensure my meal is punctual? In that moment, Clara glimpsed past Alejandro's stern exterior, sensing the immense pressure he was under. Sir, I recognize the significance of my role and what it means for your family. I will make every effort to prevent any future delays. You can rely on me to uphold the standards you expect. Alejandro regarded Clara with a more contemplative gaze, his expression softening slightly as he weighed her words. As Clara completed the breakfast preparations, Alejandro took his seat and began to eat with a hurried demeanor. The food on the table remained largely untouched, a silent testament to his frustration that seemed less about hunger and more about his broader concerns. Shortly after, he left the mansion for a crucial meeting that would stretch into the afternoon. In the quiet aftermath of Alejandro's departure, Clara took a deep breath, reflecting on the morning's events. Despite the tension and the sting of criticism, she remained steadfast in her commitment. As she tidied up the kitchen, the dawning realization of the complexities of her role settled in. This was not merely a job. It was a continuous balancing act of meeting high expectations and navigating the intricate dynamics of the Urquiza household. By the end of the day, Alejandro had returned from a crucial meeting at the company he managed, and the atmosphere within the Urquiza mansion was charged with palpable tension. Clara was tidying up the living room when she heard the unmistakable sounds of a heated argument coming from down the corridor. The voices, though muffled, were filled with raw emotion, and Clara's heart sank as she realized the intensity of the exchange. Despite her instinct to avoid eavesdropping, Clara found herself drawn to the commotion when she heard her name mentioned. She remained discreetly in the corridor, out of sight, but close enough to catch snippets of the confrontation. Through the partially open door, she could see Mariana, her demeanor resolute and firm, defending Clara with a level of intensity Clara had never witnessed before. Alejandro, you can't keep treating people like they're mere objects at your disposal. Mariana's voice cut through the air with a forcefulness that was both surprising and disheartening. Clara has gone above and beyond. She deserves recognition for her efforts, not constant reprimands. We need to remember to treat everyone with respect and dignity, regardless of their role in our home. Alejandro's response was a harsh counterpoint, laced with frustration and a biting edge. Mariana, do you think it's easy to maintain the standards of this house and our lives? Do you think difficult decisions don't need to be made? I do what is necessary, and if that means being strict with the employee, then so be it. I am the manager of one of the largest companies in this country, and that gives me the right to treat people however I see fit. Mariana's voice trembled with suppressed emotion as she tried to remain calm. I understand the pressure you're under, Alejandro, but we can't afford to lose our humanity in the process. What are we sacrificing in our family if we allow compassion to be discarded in favor of rigid standards? What do we gain from that? A spotless house, but at what cost? The argument reached a crescendo as Alejandro, with a tone of finality that left no room for discussion, declared, "If you can't support the decisions I make for the good of this family, then perhaps you should reconsider your place in this house and the life we're trying to build. I can't let your sentimentality compromise our future." The words hung heavy in the air, creating a suffocating silence that seemed to envelop the entire mansion. Clara, feeling as though the very essence of the house had shifted, stood frozen in the corridor. Mariana, with a grace that belied her evident distress, managed to hold back tears as she responded. "Maybe that's it then, Alejandro. If these are truly your intentions, if this is the future you envision, a future where love and understanding are sacrificed for the sake of your standards, then I can't be a part of it." The finality in Mariana's voice resonated deeply, a poignant reminder of the cost of sacrificing humanity for the sake of maintaining an image. Clara, though she had been an unintended witness to this personal and painful exchange, felt a profound sense of empathy for Mariana. The emotional weight of the confrontation left her reflecting on the fragility of the relationships that underpin the grand facade of the Urquiza mansion. As the house fell into a deep silence, Clara resumed her tasks with a heavy heart, her thoughts consumed by the conflict she had just witnessed. It was a stark reminder that beneath the opulence and authority, The Urquiza family was grappling with its own struggles, and the true essence of their home was now more intertwined with personal challenges and emotional complexity than ever before. Clara heard the echoes of Mariana's footsteps fading away, each step resonating like a chasm opening within the Urquiza family. The weight of the confrontation hung heavily in the air, leaving Clara with a profound sense of admiration for Mariana, a woman who had chosen to stand by her values, even at the cost of a painful and public dispute. The hours that followed were spent in a contemplative silence as Clara went about her duties. The serene exterior of the Urquiza mansion now felt like a veneer hiding the complex and turbulent emotions beneath. The idealized image of the mansion and its inhabitants had been shattered, revealing the struggle to balance personal values with the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection. As she finished her preparations in the kitchen that morning, Clara felt a change within herself, a resolve that mirrored the strength she had seen in Mariana. The confrontation had ignited a spark within her, a determination to stand up for her own dignity, even while acknowledging her need for this job. Wrapped in the silence of the early hours, Clara prepared herself for the day ahead with a new sense of purpose. When Alejandro descended the stairs, his presence was marked by a sense of authority and concern. The weight of his responsibilities was evident in his rigid expression and the gravity of his demeanor. As he entered the kitchen, Clara greeted him with a calm confidence that surprised even herself. "Good morning, Clara. I need the house to be in perfect order today. I have a critical meeting at the company, and I expect no issues when I return," Alejandro said, his tone firm yet tinged with an undercurrent of stress. Clara turned to face him, holding a tray with a steady hand. "Good morning, Mr. Urquiza. Rest assured, everything will be as you wish. The mansion will be in impeccable condition to welcome you after your meeting." Alejandro paused, his gaze assessing Clara's unwavering stance. "I hope so, Clara. These are challenging times, and the last thing I need is additional complications. The company is undergoing a delicate period, and I need my home to be a sanctuary. No more stress." Clara set the tray down on the table, choosing her words with care. "I understand, Mr. Urquiza. I will ensure that the mansion remains a place of refuge, as Mrs. Urquiza envisioned. Even in her absence, I will strive to honor that vision." Alejandro sighed, a rare moment of vulnerability surfacing as he spoke. Mariana always had a generous heart, sometimes perhaps too generous. "But you're right, Clara. This house must be a home, a place of tranquility. I appreciate your commitment, and I ask that you continue in this manner." In that exchange, Clara sensed a shift in Alejandro, a fleeting glimpse of the man behind the authority, grappling with the pressures of his roles both at home and in his professional life. She recognized the human beneath the stern exterior and felt a renewed sense of resolve. As she watched him leave for his meeting, Clara remained in the kitchen, reflecting on the fragile balance she was striving to maintain in the complex world of the Urquiza mansion. With a nod of his head, Alejandro turned to leave, but then paused at the door, as if wrestling with a final thought. "Clara," he said, his tone more subdued, "your dedication hasn't gone unnoticed. After the meeting, we'll discuss how we might recognize your efforts more meaningfully." Clara, taken aback by the unexpected shift in the conversation, could only nod in response. "Thank you, Mr. Urquiza. I am at your disposal for whatever is necessary." Watching him leave through the front door, Clara felt a blend of apprehension and hope. This conversation had revealed not only Alejandro's vulnerability but also a potential opening for new opportunities. She thought to herself, "It seems this will open doors to a new stage in this house. I just can't say how good or bad this news is." As evening approached and the sky darkened, Alejandro returned from his meeting, his demeanor a mix of tension and relief. Clara, who had been meticulously tending to the house, immediately noticed the shift in atmosphere as soon as he walked in. Alejandro found her in the living room, where she was making the final touches on the evening's preparations. Without preamble, he addressed her with a sense of urgency. "Clara, today has brought more challenges and opportunities than I anticipated. I have a business dinner tonight, and there's a complication. I need you to accompany me and pretend to be my wife." Clara, caught off guard by this unusual request, hesitated momentarily, but the gravity in Alejandro's gaze made it clear that there was no room for doubt. "Mr. Urquiza, this is quite unexpected," Clara replied, her mind racing. "How do you expect us to manage this? I'm not your wife, and I don't know much about you. I'm not prepared for something like this." Alejandro approached her, his expression softening slightly. "It shouldn't be too difficult. You'll primarily need to be present and respond to questions about our relationship only if absolutely necessary. Your presence will convey the stability and unity we need to project." Clara took a deep breath, gathering her composure. "I understand the importance of this for you and for the company. I'll do my best to support you in this meeting." Alejandro's face softened with a hint of relief. "Thank you, Clara. Your assistance means more to me than I can express. We'll do this together. I'll ensure you have everything you need: clothing, accessories, and anything else to make you feel comfortable and confident." The decision was made, and Clara felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Yet, alongside the sense of duty, there was a spark of excitement, a chance to witness Alejandro's world from an entirely new perspective. "I will prepare then, Mr. Urquiza. We will make tonight a success." As Alejandro went upstairs to prepare, Clara remained in the living room for a moment, reflecting on the gravity of the night ahead. The upcoming dinner was more than just a business event. It represented a gateway to challenges and opportunities she hadn't anticipated. With renewed determination, Clara headed upstairs to get ready, acutely aware that her life at the Urquiza mansion was about to change in ways she hadn't imagined. The atmosphere in the high-end restaurant was electric with expectation, the air thick with the promise of pivotal conversations and decisions. Clara, dressed in an elegant gown that contrasted with her inner unease, accompanied Alejandro to the table reserved for the dinner with investors. Among the distinguished guests was Mr. Cruz, the formidable owner of Alejandro's company, whose imposing presence commanded immediate respect. As they arrived at the table, Alejandro made the introductions with his usual professionalism. "Mr. Cruz, let me introduce you to my wife, Clara. Clara, this is Mr. Cruz, one of our most esteemed investors." Mr. Cruz extended his hand with a courteous nod. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Urquiza." Clara, her nerves palpable, responded with a shy smile and a slight blush. "The pleasure is all mine, sir." The dinner progressed amidst lively conversation and clinking glasses. Mr. Cruz, intrigued by the dynamics between Alejandro and Clara, directed a series of questions toward both. During a lull in the conversation, he turned his attention directly to Clara with a question that seemed to scrutinize her depth and insight. "Mrs. Urquiza, I've been impressed by Alejandro's business acumen. In your view, what is the secret to balancing professional success with harmony at home?" Clara felt a rush of anxiety as she found herself in the spotlight, searching for a moment of support from Alejandro before responding. "Well, Mr. Cruz, I believe that communication and mutual understanding are crucial in both professional and personal realms. Alejandro always emphasizes transparency in his actions and intentions, which is vital for fostering both a strong business and a harmonious home." Mr. Cruz nodded, clearly impressed by Clara's thoughtful reply. "That's a compelling perspective, Mrs. Urquiza. Transparency indeed forms the bedrock of successful relationships, whether at work or at home." Alejandro, with a look of pride and gratitude, added, "Clara has a remarkable ability to ground me and remind me of what truly matters. Her support and insight are why our relationship is as strong as it is and will continue to grow." Mr. Cruz, now visibly more relaxed, raised his glass in a toast. "Mrs. Urquiza brings a refreshing perspective to our conversation. It's always invigorating to see how fundamental principles, such as transparency and mutual respect, can guide both our professional and personal lives." Clara, though still feeling the weight of the role she was playing, felt a sense of accomplishment. The evening had become more than a mere charade. It had turned into a testament to her ability to navigate unexpected challenges with grace. As the conversation continued and the night wore on, Clara realized that her participation in the dinner had not only served Alejandro's immediate needs but also opened a door to a deeper understanding of her own role and potential within the Urquiza household. As the dinner drew to a close, Clara began to shed her initial nervousness. Her contributions had shifted from mere support to becoming an integral part of the evening's success. Her confidence grew with each passing moment, culminating in a quiet satisfaction for having held her own so well. Mr. Cruz's compliments at the end of the evening further buoyed her spirits. "Alejandro, you are fortunate to have someone with such insight by your side. Mrs. Urquiza, it's been a pleasure meeting you. I look forward to your presence at future gatherings." In the car on the way home, Clara's mind buzzed with reflection. The challenge of conversing with Mr. Cruz had been daunting but rewarding, and she couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. "I need to remember not to doubt my abilities," she thought, a sense of accomplishment settling in. "Tonight has been incredible. Mariana would have been so proud to see me handle myself in front of such an important figure." But as the night progressed, the calmness of the evening sharply contrasted with the tension that awaited them at the Urquiza mansion. Alejandro barely let the door close behind them before his frustration erupted. The serenity of the night seemed to intensify the harshness of his words. "Do you realize what you've done, Clara? By interacting with Mr. Cruz like that, you've stirred up a hornet's nest," he said, his voice heavy with irritation. "He's a shrewd businessman, always on the lookout for any advantage. Now he's going to scrutinize us more closely. This could lead to significant complications." Clara, taken aback by the force of Alejandro's anger, tried to explain herself. "I thought I was being helpful without causing any harm," she began, but Alejandro cut her off, his impatience clear. "Clara, you're not here to think. You're an employee, not an executive. Your actions might have put us in a delicate situation. Now he has a particular interest in us, and that could complicate things immensely." The sting of Alejandro's words was palpable, and Clara struggled to mask her hurt. "So I'm just an employee again. I did my best to assist you tonight, but it seems that wasn't enough." Alejandro, noticing the pain in her eyes, felt a flicker of guilt. "I don't mean to undermine your efforts. It's just that the stakes are much higher than we anticipated. This is a different level." Clara, feeling the weight of the evening's stress, replied with resignation. "I'll be more cautious in the future. I just hope tonight's efforts have contributed in some way." The rest of the night passed in a heavy silence. Alejandro retreated to his room, leaving Clara alone in the kitchen. As she stood there, she mulled over the complexities of her role and the delicate balance between fulfilling her duties and maintaining her self-respect. Despite the challenging evening, Clara recognized the opportunities it had presented and the strength she had discovered within herself. As she grappled with the emotions of the night, she resolved to navigate her position with care, aware that she was capable of facing whatever came next. Alejandro's dissatisfaction simmered as he scrutinized Clara's performance, searching for any sign of insubordination but finding only steadfast compliance. His expression hardened further as he issued a final command. "The guests have left. If we need anything, I'll call. I want to avoid any misunderstandings." Clara, maintaining her composure, responded, "Understood, Mr. Urquiza. I'll follow your instructions." Despite the clear intent to isolate her, marking her role in the house as one that needed to remain out of sight, Clara managed to mask her dismay. Alejandro, satisfied with her response, dismissed her and turned his attention back to the papers on his desk. Clara exited the office, closing the door quietly behind her. As she made her way back to the kitchen, Clara felt a pang of insignificance from Alejandro's orders. She murmured to herself, "In the end, I suppose I'll have to blend into the background like a piece of furniture. I promised Mr. Urquiza everything would go smoothly, but what if it doesn't? What if I get fired?" Several hours later, Mr. Cruz arrived with two other significant figures for Mr. Urquiza's business meeting. Alejandro greeted them warmly. "Please come in. The dinner is ready, and we don't want it to get cold. Let's discuss everything over a delicious meal." The group proceeded to the dining room, and Clara emerged from the kitchen to greet the guests. She kept her interactions minimal, trying to stay out of the spotlight as much as possible. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to our home. Please make yourselves comfortable. If you need anything, do let me know." Mr. Cruz's eyes narrowed slightly as he responded, "What did you say? You won't be joining us for the meeting, Miss Urquiza? I insist you sit down. Your presence is important to us, and your perspective might be valuable as well." Faced with no other option, Clara accepted the invitation, though it meant defying Alejandro's direct orders. During dinner, Mr. Cruz dominated the conversation with talk of business and future plans, while Alejandro joined in but frequently cast sidelong glances at Clara, ensuring she remained a peripheral presence, almost invisible. In a lull while Clara was serving more wine, Mr. Cruz addressed her with genuine curiosity. "You've been quite reserved tonight, Miss Urquiza. As Mr. Urquiza's wife, I believe your participation would be beneficial. We value diverse perspectives in our company." Clara felt a surge of nervousness but saw this as a chance to contribute. "Of course, Mr. Cruz, I'm happy to join the discussion about the company. Although I must admit, my knowledge in these areas is limited compared to my husband's," she said, offering a small smile. Mr. Cruz's nod of approval encouraged her, and Clara began to engage more openly in the conversation, navigating the delicate balance of maintaining her role while seizing the opportunity to make her voice heard. Alejandro quickly took control of the conversation, attempting to steer it away from the awkward moment. "Clara is a wonderful wife. She ensures everything runs smoothly so we can focus on what's important. But Mr. Cruz wanted to discuss the expansion into South America. You had some compelling ideas on that, didn't you?" The focus shifted back to business, yet the brief interlude had subtly altered the evening's atmosphere. Clara sensed Alejandro's displeasure with her earlier contribution and made an effort to become even more inconspicuous. The tension in the room was tangible, but it intensified when Mr. Cruz, intrigued by Clara's intelligence, turned his attention to her. "Miss Urquiza, since you have insight into the company's future, what are your thoughts?" Mr. Cruz asked. Seizing the opportunity, Clara spoke up with newfound confidence. "Based on what I've heard from my husband, I believe expanding into South America might not be the most strategic move right now. My mother lived in Canada, and she often spoke about Toronto as an ideal location for business expansion, with favorable tax conditions that could benefit the company," she said firmly. Mr. Cruz's eyes widened with interest. "Toronto? How did we overlook that? Alejandro, you should have shared your wife's insights earlier. This could have spared us from the crisis we faced with that disastrous product launch last year. If I recall, that product was your idea, wasn't it?" he inquired, casting a pointed look at Alejandro. Before Mr. Cruz could further analyze the situation, Alejandro abruptly intervened, his voice cutting through the conversation with an air of finality. "Clara is just our employee, Mr. Cruz. She has no role in the company's operations and is not well-versed in entrepreneurship. I'm not sure where she got these ideas about Toronto, but I wouldn't place any trust in the opinions of a mere employee." Alejandro's harsh declaration reverberated around the table, leaving a palpable sense of shock and discomfort. Clara felt the sting of humiliation but managed to maintain her composure. "I apologize if I overstepped. I only intended to contribute positively. I didn't mean to disrupt the discussion." Mr. Cruz's reaction was swift and intense. "This is astonishing, Alejandro. You had someone pretending to be your wife at a business dinner. Do you understand the damage this could do to our perception of you and your leadership? How can we trust your judgment when you make such reckless decisions?" Alejandro, taken aback by Mr. Cruz's anger, scrambled for an explanation. "Mr. Cruz, it was a decision made out of necessity. I assure you it doesn't reflect my leadership abilities. I can promise that this employee will be terminated, and will address all the issues immediately." The situation had escalated beyond Alejandro's control, and the evening ended with a mix of disarray and unresolved tension. Clara, feeling the weight of her actions and the consequences they brought, retreated quietly, knowing that the events of the night had set a complex new course for her future. Mr. Cruz's reprimand cut through the tension with sharp clarity. Desperation doesn't justify deception, Alejandro, and you, Clara, shouldn't have been put in that position. No one deserves to go through that, especially with the lack of courtesy Mr. Urquiza showed, he said, acknowledging the strain Clara must have endured. Clara, overwhelmed by a swirl of emotions, nodded in agreement. I understand your disappointment, Mr. Cruz. I deeply regret my part in this. Mr. Cruz's stern expression softened slightly as he addressed Clara. Your intelligence and knowledge are admirable. I'd like to keep in touch with you. Please give me your phone number. It's always valuable to have someone like you in one's network, and I'm sure I'll need to contact you again. Then, turning to Alejandro with a grim resolve, Mr. Cruz delivered his verdict. Alejandro, you seriously need to reflect on your actions and their impact on the trust we place in you. You're fired. The evening ended on a somber note, with Mr. Cruz's dissatisfaction hanging heavily in the air as he took his leave. Alejandro and Clara were left behind, immersed in a profound silence, each grappling with the repercussions of the night's events. As Clara began clearing the table, Alejandro approached her with a mixture of regret and uncertainty. Clara, I feel deeply uncomfortable about how you were placed in that situation, and even more so about having to deliver this news after everything we've been through. But your services are no longer needed in this house. Clara, despite her need for the job, remained composed. Her voice was steady and resolute. What happened tonight has made me realize a lot of things. Mr. Cruz saw something in me that even I hadn't noticed before. I want to improve and know that I can achieve my goals without having to pretend to be anyone's wife. Alejandro, taken aback by her response, let his frustration show. Then leave this house. If you have somewhere else to go, go there. I can't believe I allowed you to pass off as my wife when you're nothing more than a cheap cleaner. The following day, Clara, now jobless once more, sought refuge at the modest house where Mariana lived with her sister. When Mariana opened the door, her concern shifted to compassion upon seeing Clara's distressed state. Clara, what happened? Are you okay? Mariana asked, guiding her inside with a comforting gesture. Emotionally and physically drained, Clara poured out the details of the previous night, the escalating tensions with Alejandro, the abrupt firing, and her sense of displacement. Her words flowed with a blend of relief and apprehension about what lay ahead. I don't know what I'm going to do now, Mariana. Everything happened so fast, and I feel completely lost, Clara admitted, staring at her hands intertwined in her lap. Mariana listened intently, her face reflecting a deep empathy for Clara's predicament. After a thoughtful pause, she spoke with resolve. Clara, you're not alone in this. I know things seem overwhelming right now, but you're strong, and I'm here to help. Mariana's expression softened as she continued, why don't you stay here for a few days? My sister won't mind, and it would give you a stable place to call home while you figure out your next steps. To Clara, Mariana's offer felt like a lifeline in the midst of a storm. She looked up, meeting Mariana's eyes and seeing not just an invitation, but a genuine promise of support and friendship. I don't know what to say, Mariana, except thank you. Truly, Clara said, her voice trembling with gratitude. I hope I can repay you someday for everything you've done for me. You welcomed me into your home when I needed it the most. Mariana responded with a warm smile, enveloping Clara in a comforting hug. You don't have to repay anything, Clara. We all need help at some point. Let's just focus on getting you back on your feet. The days that followed were a period of adjustment for Clara. With Mariana's support, she found comfort and encouragement in her new surroundings. Clara's presence brought a positive energy to the house, and although the future remained uncertain, the support and friendship from Mariana gave her the strength and hope she needed to face what lay ahead with renewed determination. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Clara's challenging evening and her path to finding support and renewal. We've explored the complexities of personal and professional dynamics, the impact of resilience and friendship, and the importance of standing firm in one's own strength. What lessons have you drawn from Clara's story? Is there one insight or strategy that you feel inspired to apply in your own life? We'd love to hear about it. Please share one thing you've learned and how you plan to put it into practice by commenting below this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content that inspires and empowers. Your support means a lot to us, and we look forward to bringing you more valuable insights and stories in the future.